The lights in the great meeting hall were bright and cold. Admiral Kethver stood at the center of the room, his purple skin gleaming under the harsh glow. Around him sat the most powerful military leaders in the galaxy. The Zalonian Empire had called this meeting for one simple reason: to laugh at human lies. "Brothers and sisters," Kethvar began, his voice echoing through the vast chamber, "we gather today to discuss the humans and their foolish stories. They speak of a ghost ship, a battleship that appears from nowhere and destroys entire fleets." The alien commanders burst into laughter. The Crothery delegates clicked their claws together in amusement. The Vextari leaders hissed with joy. Even the usually serious Morvac representatives showed their version of smiles. Commander Jake Morrison sat alone in the corner. He was the only human in the room, and he felt every pair of alien eyes looking at him. His uniform was clean and pressed, but it looked simple compared to the elaborate military dress of the other species. Jake kept his face blank and his hands steady on the table. "Tell us, human," called out General Zexkari of the Crothery. "What is this magical ship called? Does it have a name?" Jake looked up slowly. "Some call it the USS Vengeance." The room exploded with laughter again. Admiral Kethvar wiped tears from his large black eyes. "Vengeance, how dramatic. And I suppose this mighty vessel can defeat 1,000 ships at once?" "The reports vary," Jake said quietly. "But the ship has been spotted 17 times in the past 3 years. Each time, raiding fleets have disappeared." Lieutenant Amy Carter, Jake's aide, sat beside him with her data tablet. She had been reviewing the intelligence reports all morning. 17 separate incidents. 17 times when alien war parties had vanished near human colonies. The only evidence left behind was twisted metal and strange energy readings. "Show them the data." Jake whispered to Amy. Amy stood up and activated the large display screen. Images of debris fields appeared. Twisted metal that had once been warships floated in the darkness of space. The alien commanders stopped laughing and leaned forward. "These are the remains of the Horktar raiding fleet," Amy said. "They attacked the human colony of New Geneva 3 months ago. 200 ships entered the system. None returned." Admiral Kethvar waved his hand dismissively. "Space is dangerous. Pirates, asteroid fields, solar flares. Many things can destroy a fleet. What about these?" Amy switched to the next image. Strange symbols appeared on the screen. They looked like human writing, but the letters were scrambled and coded. These signals were found at every attack site. They broadcast for exactly 1 hour after each incident, then stop. "Our best code breakers cannot figure out what they mean." The Vextari intelligence chief, a being called Seshik, spoke up. "Humans are clever with their tricks. These are probably fake signals, planted to make us afraid." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. 17 fleets, over 3,000 ships, all gone. "And where is this mighty battleship now?" Admiral Kethvar asked. "If it exists, why does it not show itself? Why does it not protect your colonies during our attacks? Maybe it is waiting." Jake said that the room fell silent for a moment. Then the laughter started again, louder than before. Waiting for what? General Zexkari clicked his claws. "For us to die of old age?" Admiral Kethvar stood up tall. His uniform was covered in medals and honors from 100 battles. "I have decided. The Zalonian Empire will launch a new offensive against human space. We will target your outer colonies. First, if this ghost ship exists, let it try to stop us." The other alien leaders nodded in agreement. The Crothery pledged 50 war fleets. The Vextari promised 30 more. The Morvek offered their heavy battleships. In total, over 2,000 ships would join the attack. "This is your last chance." "To surrender," Admiral Kethvar said to Jake. Give us your colonies peacefully, and we will let Earth live. Continue with these ghost ship stories, and we will destroy everything you have built." Jake stood up slowly. Amy gathered her data tablet and followed him toward the door. The alien commanders watched them go, still chuckling to themselves. At the door, Jake turned back. "I will send your message to Earth Command. They will be very interested to hear about your plans." "Send whatever messages you want," Admiral Kefar called out. "Your ghost ship cannot save you from the largest fleet in galactic history." Jake and Amy walked out into the corridor. The heavy door closed behind them with a loud thud. They could still hear the aliens laughing through the thick metal. "Should we warn the colonies?" Amy asked. Jake pulled out his communicator. It was a small device, but it could send messages across the galaxy in seconds. He typed a short message. "The hunt begins." He sent the message to a location that was not listed in any human military database. The coordinates pointed to empty space in the Kepler void, far from any star or planet. To the aliens, it was just another patch of darkness. But Jake knew better. Something was waiting in that darkness. Something that had been silent for too long. As they walked toward their shuttle, Amy asked, "Do you think they will really attack?" Jake looked back at the meeting hall, where the alien commanders were still celebrating their upcoming victory. They have already made their choice. Now they will learn what happens when you threaten human colonies. And if the ship really is just a myth? Jake smiled for the first time all day. Then we are all dead. The shuttle lifted off from the station and headed toward human space. Behind them, the alien fleets began to move. The greatest military force in galactic history was about to learn that some myths were real. In the deep void between stars, something stirred. The hunt was about to begin. The darkness of space in the Kepler void was complete. No stars shone here. No planets orbited. It was a place where ships never traveled because there was nothing to find. But something was hiding in this emptiness. The USS Vengeance hung motionless. In the void, the ship was enormous, over 1 kilometer, long and half as wide. Its hull was black metal that seemed to drink in what little light reached this far from any star. For 3 months, it had been completely silent. No engines running, no lights showing, no radio signals. To any scanner, it looked like a dead piece of space junk. But the ship was not dead. Deep inside, Captain Ryan Stone sat in his command chair and watched the message appear on his screen. 4 simple words. The hunt begins. Ryan was 50 years old and had been fighting aliens for most of his adult life. His hair was gray and his face was marked with old scars. He had seen friends die in the Centauri Wars. He had watched colonies burn. He had sworn an oath to protect human space, no matter what the cost. "All hands, this is the captain," Ryan said into his communicator. His voice carried to every part of the massive ship. "We have received the signal. Prepare for full activation." The ship began to wake up. Deep in the engine room, Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks watched as the main power core came online. The core was not like anything other species used. It was a controlled black hole, smaller than a marble, but containing the mass of a small moon. The power it created was almost unlimited. "Power at 50% and climbing," Lisa reported. She had been working on experimental engines for 20 years. The Vengeance was her masterpiece, a ship that could do things no alien vessel could. Match. On the bridge, Navigation Officer Paul Clark began plotting courses. His screens showed the positions of alien fleets across the galaxy. The Zelonians were gathering at 3 main staging areas. The Crothari were moving their ships toward human space. The Vextari were preparing their assault fleets. Enemy positions. "Confirmed," Paul said. "They are exactly where intelligence said they would be." Intelligence Officer Kate Sullivan was already at her station, downloading data from spy satellites and hidden sensors. For 2 years, humanity had been watching alien movements. They knew every ship, every commander, every battle plan. The Zelonian 7th Fleet is assembling at Rigel, Kate reported. 300 ships under Admiral Zigthar. They planned to attack New Boston Colony first. Ryan nodded. New Boston was home to 2 million humans. It was defended by only a small patrol fleet. The aliens thought it would be an easy target. How long until they are in position? Ryan asked. 6 hours, Captain. Dr. Sam Harrison, the ship's science officer, was working at the most important station on the bridge. In front of him was a control panel that no other human ship possessed. The quantum displacement drive was humanity's greatest secret. It allowed the Vengeance to phase in and out of normal space, becoming invisible to all sensors. Quantum drive is ready, Sam reported. We can phase at any time. The technology was so advanced that even human scientists barely understood how it worked. The ship existed in normal space and in quantum space at the same time. When it phased out, it became impossible to see or touch. When it phased back in, it could appear anywhere within a light year. Weapons status? Ryan asked. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Kelly stood at the weapons console. The Vengeance carried guns that could destroy entire fleets. The main batteries were quantum lance projectors that could punch through any armor. The secondary weapons were plasma cannons that could vaporize smaller ships. All weapons ready, Captain? We have enough firepower to level a small moon. Ryan looked around at his crew. There were 800 people on this ship. Every one of them was a volunteer. They had all signed up knowing they might never see Earth again. They were humanity's hidden guardians, the sword that would fall on anyone who threatened human colonies. Listen carefully, Ryan said. For too long, the alien races have seen us as weak. They raid our colonies and kill our people because they think we cannot stop them. Today, we show them they are wrong. The crew listened in silence. They had trained for this moment for years. The Vengeance is not just a ship, Ryan continued. It is a message. It tells the galaxy that humanity will not be victims. We will not beg for mercy. We will not surrender. We will fight, and we will win. Chief Communications Officer Dan White activated the ship's sensors. For the first time in months, the Vengeance began to see the galaxy around it. The sensors were so powerful, they could detect ships hundreds of light years away. All enemy fleets are moving toward human space, Dan reported. They expect to find only patrol ships and defense stations. Ryan smiled grimly. They are about to learn that humans are full of surprises. The ship's main engines came online with a deep humming sound. The Vengeance began to move for the first time in months. It accelerated smoothly, building speed until it was traveling faster than any alien ship could match. Set course for the Rigel system, Ryan ordered. Phase us out. Time to become a ghost. Dr. Harrison activated the quantum displacement drive. The ship seemed to shimmer and fade. One moment it was there. The next it was gone. The Vengeance had entered quantum space, invisible to all sensors. Estimated arrival time? Ryan asked. 4 hours, Captain, Paul answered. We will reach Rigel before the aliens finish assembling their fleet. Ryan sat back in his command chair. The hunt was about to begin. For 3 years, alien raiders had been attacking human colonies. They had killed thousands of innocent people. They had destroyed homes and cities. They had laughed at human warnings and ignored human protests. Now was time for them to pay. The Vengeance raced through quantum space toward its first target. Behind it, the empty void of the Kepler sector showed no sign that anything had ever been there. The ship had become a ghost, a legend, a myth. But myths could kill in the Rigel system. Admiral Zekthar was reviewing his battle plans. 300 Zelonian warships were arranged in perfect formation. The admiral was confident that his fleet could destroy any human resistance. He had no idea that death was racing toward him through the quantum void. The greatest hunt in galactic history was about to begin. The Rigel system was full of warships. 300 Zelonian vessels hung in space like a deadly cloud of metal and weapons. At the center of the formation, Admiral Zekthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. The ship was massive by alien standards, nearly 400 meters long and bristling with guns. "Fleet status report," the admiral ordered. "All ships are in position," replied his second-in-command, Captain Vexmo. "The heavy cruisers are ready to lead the assault. The destroyers will follow to clean up any resistance. We should reach the human colony of New Boston in 18 hours. Admiral Zekthar nodded with satisfaction. New Boston was a farming colony with only 2 million humans. It was defended by 3 patrol ships and a small orbital station. The Zelonian 7th Fleet could destroy it in minutes. The humans think their ghost ship will save them, the admiral said with a laugh. Today, we prove that myths cannot stop real warships. The bridge crew joined in the laughter. They had heard the stories about the mysterious human battleship that could appear from nowhere. Like their admiral, they thought it was just a story to frighten children. On the sensor station, Operator Clivex watched his screens carefully. Space around the fleet was empty, except for their own ships. The nearest star was 3 light-years away. No ship could approach without being detected hours in advance. "Sensors show all clear," Clivex reported. "No contacts within 50 light-years. "Excellent," Admiral Zekthar said. "Begin final preparations for the jump to human space." The fleet began to move into jump formation. The larger ships moved to the front, while the smaller vessels arranged themselves in support positions. It was a dance they had performed hundreds of times before. Then space itself began to change. At first, it was just a shimmer in the darkness, a ripple that made the stars look bent and twisted. The Zelonian sensor operators stared at their screens in confusion. The readings made no sense. "Admiral," Clivex called out, his voice uncertain, "I am detecting some kind of space distortion. It is directly ahead of the fleet. What kind of distortion?" Admiral Zekthar demanded. "I do not know, sir. The readings are unlike anything in our databases." The shimmer grew stronger. The space in front of the fleet began to fold and twist, like water. Then, with a flash of light that could be seen across the system, something appeared. The USS Vengeance materialized in the exact center of the Zelonian formation. The ship was enormous, 3 times larger than anything the aliens had ever seen. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in strange patterns that seemed to move and shift. Weapons ports lined its sides like the eyes of some great beast. For a moment, complete silence filled the Zelonian fleet. Every alien stared at the impossible sight before them. The ghost ship was real. The myth had become reality. All ships. Open fire. Admiral Zekthar screamed. The nearest Zelonian vessels unleashed everything they had. Plasma bolts, laser beams, and missile salvos filled the space around the Vengeance. The alien weapons struck the human ship's hull and seemed to disappear into the strange, shifting armor. On the Vengeance's bridge, Captain Ryan Stone watched the alien attack with calm eyes. The ship's quantum armor was absorbing the enemy fire and converting it into power for their own weapons. "Damage report," Ryan ordered. "No damage, Captain," reported Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks. "The quantum armor is holding perfectly. If anything, we are gaining power from their attacks." Ryan activated the ship's communication system. His voice boomed across every frequency, speaking in perfect Zelonian language. "This is Captain Ryan Stone of the USS Vengeance. You have entered human-protected space with hostile intent. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Zekthar responded with fury. You are one ship against 300. Surrender now or be destroyed. Ryan's response was quiet but deadly. You were warned. Lance Corporal Tim Ross sat at the weapons control station. In front of him were controls for weapons that no alien race had ever imagined. The main guns were quantum lance projectors that could tear through multiple ships with a single shot. Weapons are charged and ready, Tim reported. Fire, Ryan ordered. The Vengeance's main batteries spoke for the first time. Twin beams of pure energy lanced out from the ship's forward guns. The first beam struck 3 Zilonian cruisers in a perfect line, cutting through their hulls like paper. The ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The second beam swept across a formation of destroyers, vaporizing them before they could even try to escape. In the first 10 seconds of battle, the Vengeance had destroyed 15 enemy ships. Impossible. Admiral Zekthar shouted. No weapon can be that powerful. But the human ship was just getting started. Sergeant Mary Powell controlled the secondary weapons, plasma cannons that could vaporize smaller vessels. She targeted the Zilonian fighters and escort ships, turning them into clouds of glowing gas. The alien fleet tried to surround the Vengeance, but the human ship was too fast. It moved through space like a dancer, always staying ahead of the enemy weapons. Every time it fired, more alien ships died. Admiral, we have lost 60 ships. Captain Vexmol reported in panic. Our weapons cannot penetrate their armor. All ships, concentrate fire on their engines. Admiral Zekthar ordered. The Zilonians focused their remaining firepower on the Vengeance's rear section. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, creating a storm of energy that should have destroyed any ship. But the Vengeance just absorbed the attacks and fired back. The quantum lances cut through the alien formation like scythes through wheat. The plasma cannons turned entire squadrons into vapor. This is not possible, Admiral Zekthar whispered. They are just humans. They should not have weapons like this. Dr. Sam Harrison, monitoring the battle from the science station, was amazed at how well the ship's systems were working. The quantum armor was not just protecting them. It was learning from each attack and adapting to become stronger. Captain, the armor is evolving, he reported. It is analyzing the alien weapons and becoming immune to them. Ryan nodded. Continue the attack. Show them what happens when they threaten human colonies. The battle continued for exactly 15 minutes. When it ended, the Zilonian 7th Fleet had ceased to exist. 300 warships had been reduced to floating debris. Only a few escape pods remained, carrying the survivors of the greatest military disaster in galactic history. Admiral, Zekthar found himself alone on the bridge of his dying flagship. The ship was breaking apart around him, but he was still alive in his protective suit. Through the shattered windows, he could see the Vengeance hanging in space like a dark angel of death. How? He whispered to himself. How did the humans build such a ship? The Vengeance began to shimmer and fade. Captain Ryan Stone's voice came over the emergency frequencies one last time. Tell the galaxy what you have seen here. Tell them that humanity will not be victims. Tell them that the Vengeance is real and it is watching. The human ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving only wreckage and terrified survivors. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. In the escape pods, the surviving Zilonians stared at the debris field in shock. They had witnessed something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The myth was real, and it was hunting them. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Zilonian 7th Fleet was gone. 300 warships destroyed by a single vessel. The survivors told impossible stories about a ship that could appear from nowhere and weapons that could cut through entire formations. On the Galactic Council Station, Admiral Kethvar read the reports with growing horror. The escape pods had been picked up by a rescue fleet 12 hours after the battle. The survivors were in shock, babbling about ghost ships and impossible weapons. "This cannot be true," Admiral Kethvar said to his staff. "One ship cannot destroy an entire fleet." But the evidence was overwhelming. The debris field in the Rigel system was real. The energy readings were beyond anything in alien databases. Most importantly, the survivors all told the same story. A massive black ship had appeared from nowhere and slaughtered them like farm animals. Commander Jake Morrison sat in the emergency council session with a small smile on his face. Around him, the alien leaders were arguing and shouting. The Crothari wanted immediate revenge. The Vextari demanded more ships. The Morvek suggested retreating to their home systems. "Order! Order!" Admiral Kethvar shouted. "We must respond to this attack with overwhelming force. I propose we assemble every available ship in the galaxy. No single vessel can stand against 1,000 warships." The council voted quickly. Within hours, the largest military fleet in galactic history was being assembled. The Crothari contributed 400 ships. The Vextari added 300 more. The Morvik sent their heaviest battleships. Even the smaller races pledged vessels to the cause. 2,000 ships, Admiral Kethvar announced. Every available warship in the galaxy will hunt down this human terror weapon. Jake stood up slowly. "You are making a mistake." "Silence," Admiral Kethvar roared. "Your ghost ship has revealed itself. Now we will destroy it and every human colony in the galaxy." "You still do not understand," Jake said calmly. "The Vengeance is not our only ship." The alien leaders burst into nervous laughter, but Jake could see the fear in their eyes. They had dismissed human warnings before, and it had cost them an entire fleet. "How many ships do you have?" General Zexkari asked. Jake smiled. "Enough." Meanwhile, deep in space, the USS Vengeance was preparing for its next mission. Captain Ryan Stone stood in the ship's intelligence center, reviewing data collected from the battle. The quantum sensors had recorded everything, every alien weapon, every ship design, every tactical formation. "The aliens are gathering their fleets," Intelligence Officer Kate Sullivan reported. "Our spy satellites show massive ship movements across the galaxy. They are assembling over 2,000 vessels." Ryan nodded. "Good. Let them come. The more ships they bring, the more we can destroy at once." Chief Communications Officer Dan White was monitoring alien transmissions from across the galaxy. The enemy fleets were using standard communication protocols, which made it easy for human intelligence to intercept their messages. "They are planning to use our colonies as bait," Dan reported. "They want to force us to defend fixed positions where they can surround us." "Then we will not give them what they want," Ryan said. "We will strike first." The captain walked to the navigation station, where Paul Clark was plotting courses to enemy staging areas. The alien fleets were scattered across a dozen systems, but they all had one thing in common. They were far from any human colonies. "The Vextari supply depot at Altair," Ryan said. "How many ships are guarding it?" 50 vessels, Captain. Mostly cargo ships and escorts." "Perfect. We will start there." The Vengeance began its journey toward the Altair system. The ship moved through quantum space, invisible to all sensors. The crew prepared for another battle, but this time they would not just destroy ships. They would capture intelligence about the enemy's plans. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Kelly led the ship's elite boarding teams. These were Special Forces soldiers, trained to fight in the vacuum of space. They wore advanced armor that could protect them from anything the aliens might throw at them. "Boarding teams ready," Rachel reported. "We can take any ship in the enemy fleet." The Altair system was a major supply hub for the Vextari military. Dozens of cargo ships moved between massive storage stations, carrying weapons and supplies. To the gathering fleets. The system was defended by 2 squadrons of escort vessels, ships that were fast but lightly armed. The USS Vengeance appeared directly above the main supply station. The station was a huge structure, over 10 kilometers long, filled with weapons and equipment meant for the upcoming war against humanity. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. Came the transmission from the station commander. Captain Ryan Stones. Response was broadcast across all frequencies. This is the USS Vengeance. You have 30 seconds to abandon your stations. The Vextari commander laughed. You are 1 ship against our entire defense fleet. Surrender now or be destroyed. 20 seconds, Ryan said calmly. The alien escort ships began to move toward the Vengeance, but they were too slow. The human ship's weapons locked onto the supply station's main reactor. 1 shot from the quantum lance projectors would turn the entire structure into a small sun. 10 seconds. Panic filled the alien transmissions. The station commander suddenly realized he was facing the ship that had destroyed the Zilonian 7th Fleet. He began screaming evacuation orders, but it was too late. The Vengeance fired. The quantum lance beam struck the station's reactor core with surgical precision. The explosion could be seen from 3 systems away. The massive supply depot and all the weapons it contained was vaporized in seconds. But the human ship was not finished. The escort vessels tried to retreat, but the Vengeance was faster. One by one, the alien ships were disabled by precise weapon fire. Their engines were destroyed, but their hulls remained intact. Boarding teams, go, Ryan ordered. Rachel Kelly and her soldiers launched from the Vengeance in small assault craft. They moved from ship to ship, capturing databanks and interrogating prisoners. The Vextari had detailed information about the alien fleet's deployment and battle plans. Within 2 hours, the boarding teams had captured everything they needed. The surviving alien crews were left in their damaged ships with enough life support to survive until rescue arrived. Intelligence gathered, Rachel reported. The aliens are planning to attack 5 human colonies simultaneously. They hope to force us to spread our defenses thin. Ryan smiled grimly. Then we will disappoint them again. The Vengeance vanished from the Altair system, leaving behind only wreckage and confused aliens. The attack had taken less than 3 hours, but it had crippled the enemy's supply line and revealed their battle plans. Across the galaxy, the alien fleets received news of the attack. The terror weapon was not just defending colonies, it was hunting them. The ship could appear anywhere, strike without warning, and vanish before reinforcements could arrive. Admiral Kethfor read the reports with growing desperation. The humans had a ship that could defeat entire fleets, gather intelligence, and disappear at will. How could they fight an enemy that could strike anywhere? Double the patrols, he ordered. Post sensor nets around every important system. This ship must have limits. But deep in his heart, Admiral Kethvar was beginning to understand the truth. The humans had not just built a ship. They had built a weapon that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The hunt was not just beginning. It was already over, and the hunters had become the hunted. The USS Vengeance continued its deadly work, moving from system to system like a dark angel of death. Every alien base, every supply depot, every staging area was a target. The ship's crew worked with cold efficiency, dismantling the enemy's war machine piece by piece. The myth had become reality, and reality was more terrible than any story. The Procyon system had become the graveyard of alien ambitions. 2,000 warships from across the galaxy hung in space, arranged in the most complex defensive formation ever created. Admiral Kethver stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by displays showing every ship in the massive fleet. This time we are ready, the admiral said to his staff. "The human terror weapon cannot defeat us all." The alien fleet had learned from their previous defeats. The ships were arranged in overlapping defensive spheres, with no gaps for a single vessel to exploit. Heavy battleships formed the outer ring, while fast cruisers and destroyers filled the spaces between them. At the center, the command ships coordinated the defense. "Sensor coverage is complete," reported the fleet's science officer. "Nothing can approach without being detected. We have gravitational sensors, quantum scanners, and energy detectors covering every possible avenue of attack." Admiral Kethfor nodded with satisfaction. The human ship had surprised them before by appearing from nowhere, but that would not happen again. They had sensors that could detect ships even in quantum space. "The moment that ship appears, we will destroy it," the admiral declared. 2,000 ships against one. The humans will learn that numbers still matter. But the aliens had made a fatal mistake. They thought they were hunting one ship dot in the darkness beyond the Procyon system. 4 massive shapes moved through quantum space. The USS Vengeance was no longer alone. The USS Retribution, USS Defiance, and USS Valor had joined the hunt. Humanity's entire fleet of super battleships was moving toward the alien formation. Captain Ryan Stone stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the tactical display. The alien fleet was exactly where intelligence had predicted. They had taken the bait perfectly. "All ships report ready," came the voice of Captain Lisa Brooks from the Retribution. She had been promoted from chief engineer to ship commander after the Vengeance's first successful mission. "Defiance ready," reported Captain Paul Clark from the 3rd ship. "Valor standing by," added Captain Kate Sullivan from the 4th vessel. Ryan smiled. His senior officers had all been given commands of their own. The human fleet was small, but every ship was commanded by someone who understood the enemy. "Positions," Ryan ordered. The 4 battleships moved into formation around the alien fleet. They approached from different directions, spacing themselves evenly around the massive enemy formation. The aliens had prepared for an attack from one direction, but they could not defend against attacks from all sides. "Phase us in," Ryan commanded. Space around the Procyon system began to shimmer and twist. The alien sensors detected the disturbances immediately, but they could not understand what they were seeing. The readings showed impossible energy signatures, coming from 4 different directions. "Admiral," the science officer shouted, "we are detecting massive quantum distortions. Something is about to phase into normal space." Admiral Kethfor felt ice in his veins. "Where?" "Everywhere. The distortions are surrounding our entire fleet." Then the 4 human battleships appeared simultaneously. The USS Vengeance materialized above the alien formation. The Retribution appeared below. The Defiance phased in from the left, while the Valor came from the right. The alien fleet was completely surrounded. For a moment, absolute silence filled the comm channels. Every alien in the fleet stared at the impossible sight. 4 massive ships, each one larger than anything they had ever seen, hung in space around them like predators surrounding prey. "Impossible," Admiral Kethfor whispered. "The intelligence reports said there was only one ship." Captain Ryan Stone's voice filled every communication channel in the system. "This is Captain Ryan Stone of the human fleet. You have assembled the largest military force in galactic history with the intent of destroying human colonies. Your war ends here." Admiral Kethfor found his voice. "You are 4 ships against 2,000. Even with your advanced weapons, you cannot defeat us all." "We shall see," Ryan replied calmly. "All ships commence attack." The 4 human battleships opened fire at the same time. The quantum lance projectors created a web of death around the alien fleet. The beams passed through multiple ships with each shot, destroying entire formations in seconds. The alien fleet tried to respond, but they were trapped in their own defensive formation. The ships on the outside could not retreat without exposing the vessels behind them. The ships on the inside could not advance without ramming their own allies. Tactical Officer Alex Turner coordinated the human fleet's movements from the Bridge of the Vengeance. The four ships moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum drives allowing them to appear and disappear at will. Focus fire on the command ships, Alex ordered. Break their coordination. The human ships targeted the alien flagship and command vessels. The quantum lances cut through the enemy formation. Like swords through paper, Admiral Kethvar watched in horror as his carefully planned defense crumbled in minutes. "All ships, break formation," he screamed. Scatter and attack individually, but it was too late. The human ships had already destroyed the fleet's coordination centers. Without central command, the alien vessels began firing at random, sometimes hitting their own allies in the confusion. The USS Retribution, under Captain Lisa Brooks, focused on the heavy battleships. Her ship's weapons were specifically designed to crack the thickest armor. Each shot from her main guns turned an alien battleship into twisted metal and fire. The USS Defiance, commanded by Captain Paul Clark, hunted the fast attack ships. Alien cruisers and destroyers tried to use their speed to escape, but the human ship was faster. It appeared behind fleeing vessels and destroyed them before they could react. The USS Valor, under Captain Kate Sullivan, targeted the support ships. Supply vessels, repair ships, and medical frigates were destroyed without mercy. The human fleet was not just winning a battle, they were eliminating the alien war machine completely. On the Vengeance, Dr. Sam Harrison monitored the quantum drives of all four ships. The technology was working perfectly, allowing the human vessels to phase in and out of normal space at will. The aliens could not predict where the next attack would come from. Enemy fleet strength down to 60%, reported intelligence. Officer Dan White, they are beginning to panic. The alien ships were indeed panicking. Captains abandoned their assigned positions and tried to flee the system. But the human ships were everywhere, cutting off escape routes and destroying fleeing vessels. Admiral Kethvar found himself alone on his bridge as his flagship died around him. The ship's hull was breached in dozens of places. The engines were offline. The weapons were destroyed. Through the shattered windows, he could see the four human ships moving through his fleet like angels of death. How did they build four ships? He asked himself, where did they get such technology? The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Ryan Stone appeared on the Admiral's communication screen, his face calm and determined. "You want to know how we built these ships?" Ryan asked. "We built them in secret while you are raiding our colonies. We built them with the tears of widows and the anger of orphans. We built them with one purpose, to end your war against humanity." Admiral Kethvar stared at the human captain. "You cannot destroy all of us. We have 1,000 worlds, 1,000,000,000,000 citizens. Even if you win this battle, our empires will rebuild." Ryan's expression did not change. "This is not just a battle, Admiral. This is a message. Tell your governments what happened here. Tell them that humanity is no longer prey. Tell them that we have the power to protect ourselves and the will to use it." The battle was over in exactly 1 hour. 2,000 alien warships had been reduced to scattered debris and escape pods. The largest military fleet in galactic history had been destroyed by 4 human vessels. The USS Vengeance moved through the wreckage, its sensors recording everything. The data would be sent to every government in the galaxy, proof that humanity could defend itself against any threat. "Damage report," Ryan asked his crew. "No significant damage to any ship," reported Chief Engineer Tim Ross. The quantum armor absorbed all enemy fire. If anything, we are stronger than when we started. Ryan nodded. The human ships had not just won, they had demonstrated complete technological superiority. The alien weapons could not even scratch the quantum armor. Send the message, Ryan ordered. Dan White activated the ship's most powerful transmitter. The signal would reach every inhabited world in the galaxy within hours. Ryan's voice carried across space with a simple message. This is Captain Ryan Stone of the human fleet. Today you have seen the price of threatening human colonies. We do not seek conquest or empire. We seek only to live in peace. But if you bring war to our worlds, we will bring extinction to yours. The choice is yours. The 4 human battleships began to phase out of normal space. One by one, they vanished like ghosts, leaving behind only wreckage and a handful of survivors to tell the tale. Admiral Keffer floated in his escape pod, staring at the debris field that had once been the galaxy's greatest fleet. Around him, other survivors transmitted desperate messages to their home worlds. The war was over before it had truly begun. Within days, the Galactic Council would vote for immediate peace with humanity. The alien governments would recall their fleets and abandon their plans for conquest. The 4 human ships